I shall make a start. So, welcome everybody to this focus group meeting, which is around strengthening and developing the Rotary Technology Tournaments. I'm Janine Birtwistle, and I'm the team lead for the Humanitarian Service Specialist. Could you all mute yourselves if you're not speaking, please? In fact, if I mute you all. There we go. There we go. Yes, so I'm the team lead for the Humanitarian Service Specialist Advisor team, and one of several teams at Rotary GB&I level, working collaboratively also with the management team at the Rotary Support Centre, the GB&I board, and the DG cohorts. This evening is about technology tournaments, and I just want to do a couple of bits of housekeeping before we start. I'm just going to share my screen. I have got quite a severe chest infection and my voice does come and go. So if there's a problem, I'll hand over to you all to speak. But here we go. So from the housekeeping perspective, the usual, if you are on your home alone, could you please put into chat to myself your address, your contact details for somebody in case something awful happens to you. Roger, if we can't see you, we might not know anything happens to you. So, but that would be great if you could do that. If you can rename yourself so that it shows your club or your district, that would be great. If anybody is not sure on how to do that, if you just click alongside your name in the participants list, you should be able to come up with 3 dots. And if you click on there, you should have an option to rename, but I can always rename you myself if I need to. Please, I have muted you all. Could you stay muted unless you're invited to speak? And could you please put your mobile phones to silent? Not quite sure how we do that with the old traditional landlines, which mine never rings except when I'm in a meeting, but hey ho. The chat box is available throughout and transcript has been enabled. The session is being recorded and will be made available in part or as a whole on the Rotary GB&I YouTube channel in due course. So enough said around the admin side of things. So we are all here for a focus group, strengthening and developing Rotary Technology Tournaments. As I mentioned just briefly earlier, we have got 22 out of the 24 districts having somebody registered for tonight's event, which is fantastic. It is the first focus group meeting that we've had like this as far as the technology tournaments are concerned, and they are an important part of the opportunities that Rotary provides for young people. It's something that has been going a very long time, and I'm extremely grateful to many of you, and I will name a couple of you in particular, and that's not to take offence to anybody I don't name in particular, but Bob Tunnicliffe from District 1240, Bob has really been at the heart of this right from the outset. And there's a small district team that work extremely hard in putting things together each year around the particular task for the current Rotary Technology Tournament as it stands. I'd also like to acknowledge Roger Phillips, who's been involved with the Junior Technology Tournament over many years, and thank them and all of you that have already been involved with these tournaments. We've got a complete range of a complete spectrum of experience from the technology tournament perspective, experience from Rotary perspective, experience professionally too. One of the questions that you were asked to consider responding to, and you didn't have to when you registered, was what experience have you got, or what skills have you got that you think would be helpful in this particular area. And we've got science teachers, we've got a physicist in aerospace technology, we've got a good organizer, always desperate for some of those to help us, project management, a retired construction engineer, all sorts of different people. And that's, for me, one of the richness about Rotary is between us all, we have got so many skills and talents that we can bring to the table. Some people don't want to bring their professional skills to the table because they actually want to do something different in their Rotary service. Absolutely fine. What we are trying to do across Rotary GB&I is work much more collaboratively together, and that's encouraging everyone to do so. And one of the things that we're doing in the Humanitarian Service team, and our purpose is here to help and support clubs, districts, hubs, clusters, Rotarians, family of Rotary in their Rotary service projects and activities to add value so that we can increase our impact, expand our reach, enhance the engagement within the Rotary family and within our communities. And importantly, about being flexible to adapt to changing circumstances. Now, whilst the Rotary Technology Tournaments have been very successful in some areas, some districts have really not engaged with them, and that's not necessarily any fault of anybody involved. It may be that that's just not an interest at a particular time, or it might be that we've not necessarily been as good as we could be at communication. And I think we all have that problem within Rotary, if not in all of our lives, and we're trying to fix that. But in relation to the collaborative thinking and how we operate, we are focusing on three, what we call unifying themes. And those unifying themes encompass pretty much everything that Rotary service is about. And those three unifying themes are health and well-being, rebuilding lives, rebuilding communities, and future generations. And technology tournaments is very much part of future generations. We are working in much more team-focused ways. So rather than having individuals that are the key person or sometimes the only person, and we all know what that's like in our own clubs and districts or whatever, I'm sure that when you actually ask for someone to put their hand up and step forward, it's sometimes there's a distinct sign of people stepping back. What we're trying to do is open up opportunities for anybody, both within the Rotary family or indeed people who want to support Rotary in some way, to help us to grow and develop opportunities, share on the success stories that are already being done across what we do in our clubs and districts, etc., so that we can share successes, share exemplars, come up with better ways of not reinventing quite so many wheels, etc., etc. So in relation to this meeting this evening, what I'd like to do is just spend literally 2 or 3 minutes just talking briefly about Rotary technology. Why Thomson? If you tell me what name you want, we'll change your name on the system. So if you just pop in chat what you'd like it to be changed to, I'm pleased to do that. Yeah, so Rotary Technology Tournaments, some of you know far more about it than I do. And they are about STEM, science, technology, engineering and maths, and providing an opportunity for young people to enrich their learning around STEM. Funnily enough, I think as time goes on, some young people haven't even got a clue how to change a battery. Where does electric come from? They wouldn't know how to even necessarily to screw in a light bulb or change a fuse, or a lot of the examples I'm giving are around electric, because that's for me, it's something that I had to learn myself. But young people, it just doesn't seem to be part of this throwaway society where people just throw something away and buy something new, or they find someone to come and do something for them. And one of the things that in the feedback that I'm hearing about the technology tournaments is it's actually almost having to go back a step and helping the young people to learn how to use their hands and to do things practically. And there are two types of technology tournament. There's a junior technology tournament, and there's what is just literally called the technology tournament currently. And they are designed, the technology tournaments are designed for the secondary school pupils. And generally it's aged 11 to 16 with advanced ages from 16 to 18. With the amazing work that Bob Tunnicliffe and his colleagues in District 1040 do, they provide and totally test and update the materials for a task. And that's the task for the following Rotary year. They trial it, they test it, they check the suppliers, etc., etc. But I just want to put in context the time that it takes for them to do that. So Bob, I don't know if you can unmute yourself and just very briefly explain about the timing and where it sits as far as the task is concerned, please.
Yeah, very pleased to do that. I don't think you can see me. I don't know how you can.
I'm just about to try and find you. You keep talking.
Yes, I'm keep talking. I'll carry on with what you want me to say, but I'm
okay. We don't seem to have your video.
Is there something I can put on the top bar to make it happen?
No, I think we're just going to have to listen to your voice.
Okay.
Our ears are pinned back, Bob, and we'll hear what you've got to say.
Okay, then. So I am the chair of the TT steering group. Our steering group consists of 4 Rotarians. Our role, as you just said, is to produce a TT task for District 1040 and also for RIBI. But as far as this group is concerned, our TT year really starts now. We get as much feedback as we can from the 8 events that we ran this year in March. And we hold debrief meetings with the event organizers, and we hear of their experience and want to know if there are any adjustments that we should be making in the dossier for later release to RIBI. So in a sense, 1040 is a sort of a pilot operation. And over 8 events, you can be absolutely sure that if there are any snags within the dossier, we're going to find them and we put them right so that when it comes out to RIBI for something like 70 events, we're not going to be plagued with hundreds of emails and questions. Something's wrong with the dossier. So it is very, very well proven. And concurrent with that, we are producing the next TT dossier for our own district 1040. And that is quite a major operation, as you might imagine. We have something like 8 or 10 tasks in the portfolio, and we have sort of intervals on these tasks of about 6, 7 or 8 years. And so we decide which one we're going to run for the following year. And we have to modify it because it's obviously over 8 years, as you were just saying, students' natural ability and understanding of lots of things that years ago they had no problem with, now they do. So we have to modify the difficulty factor in accordance with our experience as we go through the years, which we build into the new task. We review the layout of the task, the language, and finally build ourselves and test the new model. And one of the big challenges is finding a source of materials these days, which is extremely difficult to get it to the right prices, the right supply chains, and so forth. We released that new task, which is the pilot task modified to 10 from to Rotary in September, October, and we release the new task to 1040 around about the same time as well. I then support these tasks through the ensuing year. That's very much in a nutshell what we get up to.
Thanks, Bob. So the key thing there from the perspective of Rotary clubs or districts or groups that are interested in running technology tournaments is that there is ideally only one task for that Rotary year. And that one task, we're asked to keep quiet as to what it is, so that the people concerned, the young people them concerned, don't know in advance what it is they're coming to get. Now, I know that Bob has mentioned October as far as when we release that in Rotary GB&I, and what we're going to be doing for 2024-25 is the support centre will be doing some of the administration as far as the communications going out through the humanitarian service team, so that it's actually going out to everybody. That does not mean the task will literally be emailed out to everybody, because again, trying to keep it not on open availability for everyone to share. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't do your own thing, and some districts do, some clubs do. There is a plea, and several of the advanced questions or advanced comments when people registered was asking, could we have it as early as possible? And I know, Bob, you mentioned September, October. If we could aim for it to be as early in September as possible for 24-25, I know that everybody would be extremely grateful. Excuse me. In relation to the junior technology tournament, which is at the primary school level, could I perhaps ask Mary or Roger to just explain where we're at with that at the moment, please?
I'll let Roger go first.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, the junior technology came into being because everybody was saying, well, it's a great thing at the senior level. What can we do for younger children? The truth is that at that particular time, we were going around the country promoting the technology tournament, and we came across the Rochester Bridge Trust. And they had a lot of money. They charged people to go across the bridge. They couldn't do anything with the money. So we were able to get with them, and they did us 3 tasks in great detail aimed at younger children. We then, as Rotary, put it out to schools that wanted to do it. There is no time that they have to do it. It's basically, a lot of schools seem to want to do it at the end of the summer term as a fun thing for the children. But our local school here is putting one on in a week's time. So that's it. But because we only had 3 and one of them was not really suitable for the children, it was well documented, the rest of it, but the children and the staff didn't really get on with it. So I've agreed to try and develop some other junior tasks, and we are trying one out on the 14th of this month, see what the kids think of it. But for an adult to try and develop or a very old adult to try and develop things that children can think about is difficult. So we're looking forward to, on the 14th of next month, seeing what the class, there's 34 teams that are going to try this task out, and I'll either have egg on my face or I will look good, one of the two. And Mary is doing all this is organising it. My task is getting the task to work. That's about it. Mary?
Thanks,
Yeah,
Roger.
that in fact, this task, we have worked on it with a teacher at the school that we are going to do it with, so that we have had teacher input, technology teacher input to get this task on the way.
Thanks very much. So, the whole point of calling this focus group meeting is really trying to see how can we build teams, because we're very much working with teams. So what we'd like to be doing is, both for the junior technology tournament and for the technology tournament, is to build a small team of people who can help in developing it, strengthening it, building resilience into it, and actually take this forward. And that doesn't mean we've got to just consider what we're currently doing. However, we need to make sure that we do what we're currently doing well, and don't try and be all things to all people. But I'd like to open it up now to anybody that wants to put their hands up. If you're able to use the raise hands button under the reactions, that would be most helpful. Can I please ask you, when you are talking, to literally be mindful that we've got a lot of people here and we want to give anybody that wants to talk the opportunity to talk. And I also have got some of the questions in advance that I would like to also be going through during the focus group. But bear in mind, as you're talking, as you're listening, if you think you can help in some way, whether it's that project management, whether it's the administration, whether it's actually engaging with young people to get the ideas from them. We keep talking about about involving young people, and yet in reality we're not. And we need to rectify that. And is this an opportunity to do that? That would be really helpful. So if you've got a question, or there's something that you'd like to share from your experience, then please put your hand up. Richard, if I could go to you first, please.
Thanks, Janine. Richard Green, City of Wolverhampton, District 1210. Some observations. First of all, I was very pleased to say that you don't necessarily want to change. We do the Junior Technology Tournament, and it's highly successful. If I give you an anecdote, one of the local schools, primary schools, year fives, that we did it, we had some feedback. One of the youngsters went on to high school and was asked in her first days there, what was the best thing you experienced at your primary school? And she said it was the day Rotary came to the school to do a Junior Technology Tournament. So it was very, very encouraging. We are sticking with the Rochester Bridge Trust. And I would say that the cost to clubs and districts of creating a whole new set of raw materials, the bridge base and so on, and the repeat materials every year when you have to supply all the materials, is quite considerable. So I wouldn't necessarily want to move on from the bridge where we get a squirrel to cross the bridge. That's about it, really. One other comment, which is interesting. This year, we did it in a local primary school about 3 weeks ago. We didn't find the children as much engaged or as enthusiastic as we have done in every previous of the 6 or 7 years that we've been doing it at that particular school. And I said to the teacher, they're not so switched on. He said, that's COVID, because they've spent several years not attending school and they are behind. You will find next year, as the next year group comes through, they will be totally engaged and enthusiastic as they have done in all the previous years. Just some observations, Janine.
Interesting, Richard. One of the things that I have sent out to all those that are on the current mailing list for technology tournaments is a plea. Please, can you feed into us, into myself, what are you doing in the 23-24 year, so that we've got those stories. What I'd like to be doing is actually put together in a few months' time a big article about what's happened with Rotary Technology Tournaments in this Rotary year, and things like the quotes from the youngsters. It's their stories, it's the impact it has for them. So stories, photos, etc. would be really great, but please make sure we've got the permissions to be using the photos from the person that's taken the photos, and more importantly from the youngsters themselves. But please cover that. So thank you, Richard. Nick, over to you. You need to unmute, Nick. That's it.
There we are. Unmute myself.
Yeah, we can see you and hear you now. Thank you.
You were talking earlier about the kids not having quite the same nous as they used to. One of the things that I found particularly this year, and that we run our Rotary tournament in February, was an awful lot of children, and it's classic of children really, were not reading the information that they were given. And I found it necessary actually to point them to it, because this year was am I allowed to say what task it was this year?
Yes, of course.
This year the task involved the use of pulleys, and the information provided in Bob's package actually told them exactly how to use the pulleys, if only they would care to read it and think about it. And I found myself going around to a number of teams and saying, have you read that? Have you read that bit? What do you think it means? I think that's an important issue, because without it, they get lost, and then they get disheartened, and then they don't enjoy it. So that's
indeed.
That's point number one. And I've forgotten point number two. Sorry.
Okay, well, put your hands up again if you remember it.
Yeah,
Nick. I think actually, when you've got the magic button to get the youngsters to read what there is, can you let us have it so that we can perhaps pass it around to a few Rotarians as well? That would be great. No, seriously though, that is really important, and I think that's perhaps where we need to be getting some input from the youngsters themselves. Is there something, you know, we're, as Roger said earlier, we're trying to do what we think is best for the youngsters. We need the young people to help us ensure that it is the best. So if they're not reading it because it's too blur, I'm not saying it is, but if that's the reason, how can we make it less blur? So thank you for that.
Yeah, I've remembered the second thing.
Okay.
Because it is connected. And that is that I did one club somewhere down in the southwest did a very clever thing, which was to produce a video as part of the briefing for the task for the day. And in that task, it was identifying some of the things, linking what they were doing to real life, in so many ways. You know, if you're talking about pulleys, you know, what are pulleys for? Da-di-da, going on about that, so that they start to understand why, what it is they're being asked to do and why. But also, it did strike me that, you know, that was a great opportunity to be able to provide perhaps a briefing across the board to go with the task. And I was thinking, I know Bob's team is as busy as anybody, but I was thinking that it's something that would be good to do centrally.
Yes, indeed.
So
yes,
that,
indeed.
you know, we're not all reinventing the wheel, because it's, yeah.
Absolutely. And what we're anticipating going forward is that Bob and the District 1040 team, their focus will be about the task, and that we will put together a team around it. They will be part of that team from the task perspective, but there's a team bringing in those other ideas. And I think the idea of a video is terrific. And I also think it's really important. That's why the collaboration together and sharing successes and challenges and how you overcame them. If we could share that more with each other, then we can stop reinventing quite so many wheels. And, you know, Steve Blakesley is here from District 1180, and he's put in chat that he's looking to link up with District 1150 in South Wales, because the Welsh schools have particular issues. So, you know, it's how do we connect with each other? And I can see that we've actually got not the district, yeah, District 1180 and District 1150 need to connect, so that would be great. So, Tony, over to you. You need to unmute, Tony.
Muted now. Yes, thank you. My name is Tony Rowe. I'm at Northwich Rotary Club in Cheshire, part of District 1180. And for 5 or 6 years before the pandemic, we very successfully ran technology tournaments every year. But post-pandemic, we found it very difficult to get the schools to commit to a day away, if you wish. Playing catch up from COVID, technology not being flavour of the month in many schools, as it's no longer a compulsory curriculum subject. So I was wondering what other clubs might be doing to try and persuade the schools that this is a good thing for them to do. One thing we have done, though, a couple of years ago, we adapted one of the technology tournament tasks to support Cheshire Scouts as part of their selection process for sending the Scouts off to the International Jamboree. And we did a sort of mini technology tournament as part of the overall selection that they were doing. And we're currently working with Warrington Rotary Club to facilitate a game aimed at kids who are going to be, what, 14, 15, coming up to leaving school, but are not academically gifted and are looking to go perhaps down a young apprentice route. But they with an organisation in Warrington, are putting a day aside to coach these kids really in how to answer questions at interviews, to develop CVs, and we're doing a mini technology tournament for them to encourage them to work as a team on something practical. And they will be selecting groups of 4 or 5 children who have never worked together before, and that's coming off next month. So it'll be very interesting to see how that works.
Thanks very much for that, Tony. Really interesting there. I'd like to just mention 2 people in particular. We have, as part of Humanitarian Service Team, we have some sub-teams put together, and one of those is around youth, and that's all youth opportunities. And the team is made up of Andy Calvert, Mary Whitehead, Hannah Graham, Alan Moss, and Steve Bolsover. Andy and Mary are here with us this evening. Mary has just spoken just before. I'm mindful, Bill, that you've had your hand up, and I will come to you in just a second. Andy is very much involved with youth outside of schools. And I think that from a Rotary perspective, we do need to find, don't automatically think when you say Rotary and young people equals Rotary Youth Competitions. And when you say Rotary Youth Competitions automatically equals schools. You know, we need to think more broadly. And I think your example there about selection, doing a mini tournament for selection for the Scouts for their Jamboree, I'm sure that across Great Britain and Ireland, Scout groups may be interested in something like that for their selection for Jamboree, for example. Andy, I just wonder if there's anything you'd like to say about bringing in other people.
Yeah, thank you. I think it is about that. It's about finding those groups, be the Scouts, be those uniform brigades, maybe a voluntary sector as well. You've got all the different cadets, police cadets, army cadets, all those kind of people are really interesting because it is about that team. It's more about, and I think what we were alluding to before is selling technology may not work, but selling the teamwork, the leadership skills, the working together skills, and planning, development, that outside thinking works really well for young people as well. So some of the schools we work with, as well as the youth centres, because they are looking at the informal education side of things, works really well. It's that team, how we build teams and work with people. The other thing as well is that our district, we don't do individual schools. We invite the schools to come to us at another centre. So it's not a school environment. They all come out for the day, which actually puts it in a different perspective. Sometimes they all feel a bit, well, what's going on here? And then suddenly they become part of a whole than just someone hosting a school, and they're in the safe environment. They've got another challenge to be somewhere else as well. It's really important that we actually widen that field. And maybe it's even, I just had a thought when we were talking about it, to remind me that we've got all these interact clubs that are around. It could be a cluster group that interact together, do something like that.
Yeah. There's lots of ideas. We just need to stop thinking down one tunnel. Let's actually start thinking differently, and by bringing in more people into teams and what we're working on together collaboratively and learning from each other, is some of those ideas can come to fruition. Okay, before I come to those with their hands up now, Bill Martindale, you've been very patient, and I keep missing you. Bill, is there something you would like to say, please?
Yes, Janine, a few minutes ago, you mentioned that you communicate with the districts that have participated in the tournament to get feedback, etc. Now, I've been involved for 3 years. I've never had any communication inviting me to do anything. And each year I've had to contact Bob, who's been brilliant, to say I have not received next year's challenge. I seem to be slipping through the net somewhere on communication.
And I think you're absolutely right there, Bill. I think this is one of the lists that has really been down to Bob working with Andy Smith at the support centre to try and maintain an email list. And that's the email list that I've been communicating with. And that's why in publicising today, we've not just relied on that email list. We have been reaching out. So if you're not on that email list, you won't have had those earlier communications. But please, can you drop me an email? I'll put my email in the chat box. Can you please drop me an email? And I will ensure that you are added to that list. But we will also, one of the things that we will be doing is ensuring that the information isn't just restricted to that email list, so that we are more broad on that.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for that, Bill. Eryl, can I turn to you, please?
Yes. Hi, Janine. I see that Ian Lyle is on the call here, and he's far better positioned than I to talk about the World District 1180 Technology Tournament held in March. It was brilliantly successful, thanks to a very engaged Neston High School. But I wanted to talk about something different. Maybe Ian can talk about that much more than I can. I was there, but Ian was very much the core team. We, as our club in Mid Wirral, we have been doing for the last 2 years, go back to your point about thinking broadly, we've had a technology project working with an Insight Youth Zone here in Birkenhead, and it's actually fantastic. It's been based around building an electric car supplied by Green Power Foundation from the Northeast, and we've had juniors and seniors constructing a car to a kit that's been supplied by them. And then after completing the building of it through the winter and the summer, building a whole car, and then taking it to races. And the first race of 24 was yesterday in Croft, and on Tuesday in Croft, sorry. Absolutely fantastic. And that created a phenomenal amount of interest in youngsters to really get engaged with STEM and get engaged with what electric cars are all about, getting engaged in terms of working as a team and racing as a team. What a great project. And I know there's a number of Insight Youth Zones around the country. So if any club has an Insight Youth Zone not far from them, I'd encourage them to have a chat to them. Check out the Green Power Foundation in terms of the electric cars. It does require a bit of budget to fund it, but we Youth Zone in Birkenhead managed to get third-party support for that beyond our own club. But it's been a fantastic project that will carry on for years going forward. So it's really interesting. And I will leave it to Ian to mention about the Neston High School one if he's going to mention it.
Okay, that sounds terrific, Eryl. Thank you very much for that. What we need to be doing is sharing more of these stories. Every meeting that I attend, whether it's a club, a district, whether it's a GB&I meeting or whatever, it's how do we get the stories? How do we hear what's going on? How can we share them more widely? How can we stop reinventing wheels? One very simple way for those of you, I know, Steve, you put in that, young people, it's TikTok and YouTube, absolutely. But for many Rotarians, it's still Facebook. We do have a Facebook group, which is specifically about Rotary service projects and activities. I would love you all to join that group. I've put the link in the chat and share what you're doing on there. There's also an opportunity, and this will be mentioned in the Humanitarian Service newsletter that comes out on the 15th of every month to all of the district leads that are linked to humanitarian service. So that's community, vocational, international, youth, RILA, environment, resilience, blah, blah, blah. But it actually also comes out to every Rotarian that has got a email address registered on the 17th of the month. On the 17th of the month, you receive an email called Service News from the support centre, and in that you have links to the service to the newsletters from each of the specialist advisor teams. Now, I'd like you to look at all of them, but I know that that's not realistic. I would love you on the 17th of every month to click on that, open that email, and click through to the Humanitarian Service newsletter. That's where you'll read a lot of things, and there's lots of opportunities there to share your stories and to get involved. I'm always looking for stories. Everybody's always looking for stories. We need you to tell us more about them. So well done, Eryl. P. Chestnutt, I'm sorry I don't know your Christian name, but please join us.
It's Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to share a positive experience that we had in Ballymena in Northern Ireland. We have a very successful technology challenge. We have 9 schools, and each school sends 2 teams of 4 pupils. So that's a lot of pupils coming in. And we hold it in a northern regional college, a local northern regional college. And the year we did the gravity powered vehicle was very successful, one of the successful ones. And actually the college was having a course for adults, unemployed adults. And what they were doing is they were giving them basic engineering skills with a view to giving them an interview for a job at the end of it. And they asked us, could they use the challenge as an icebreaker for those 16 adults? So they did, and it got the people talking, and it got them together. and it was brilliant. And they obviously enjoyed it, as did the pupils. So it's just another string to the bow. Maybe just not concentrating on children, but possibly adult learning as well. So just wanted to share that positive experience with you.
I love that, Peter. And I think, I keep mentioning silos and tunnels. We do put everything in a box, don't we? And you think Rotary Technology Tournament equal youngsters. What a great idea. I mean, team building. There's lots of things that it could be relevant to. So thank you for that, Peter. Ian, if I could turn to you, and then I got a couple of things I'd like to be addressing from the advanced questions and comments that we had. So Ian, over to you next, please.
Okay, thank you. Thanks to Eryl for the cue. We hold our annual technology tournament, as Eryl mentioned, at Neston High School, which is an excellent venue, but we do invite other schools from Wirral and West Cheshire to take part. And our problem in the recent years has been we've had so many participants, we haven't got room for them all. There's a huge enthusiasm from the local schools to take part in this. I have to point out that it's organised jointly by North Wirral Rotary Club and the District 1180 Passport Club, Trevor Irvin, and also Steve Blakesley, our district lead, is a huge help and support for this as well. So we've got great support on the ground, also from other clubs in the Wirral, so Mid Wirral, Roydon, quite a few other clubs involved, and lots of schools. So there's a huge spirit of enthusiasm about the whole event. Our little problem, I think, might be that we tend to have our event in October or November. And I noticed Steve Blakesley had mentioned this, which means that we're normally using the task from the year before rather than the proper Rotary task for the year. I don't know if that really matters, but we have got a date set for this coming October, which is the 10th of October, which is very early in the school session. So I was just wondering if we will have a task for the 10th of October.
Thanks very much, Ian. Well, hopefully we will, but we're not likely to have that till early September from what Bob has said. I mean, yes, we'd love everybody to be doing the same task during a Rotary year. But at the end of the day, if you do one from the previous year, you do one from the previous year. And if you do your own adaptation, that's also fine. We're offering opportunity. We're not dictating what you have to do. I'd like to put some of the questions to you all briefly in advance of tonight. So somebody that's never been involved in organising a tournament before, and nobody in their club has been involved, where do they start? What's the best way to take up the mantle and look to introduce it? Who would like to answer that? Nick? You're muted, Nick.
Right. I haven't actually said before, I'm from the Rotary Club of Leicester, and we put on we have been doing these for the last 10 years now. This last year, I think, was the biggest we've done. We had 44 children, I think, from 13 different schools all together on the one day. And I have been speaking to some other local clubs, and I think it must help them a lot to talk to a club that has experience of doing them. And I think that's probably the best way in. So if you've got a register, Janine, of clubs in each district, you could put them in touch with a local club that's been doing them.
Thank you, Nick. That's a good idea. And as well as the districts, there is something we call clusters. This is relatively new, and it's a grouping of districts in a particular area. So it's about sharing, collaborating, sharing expertise, etc. And each of the specialist advisor teams has a representative for that cluster. So Karen Evely is here tonight. She's a member of the Humanitarian Service team, and she looks after Central and Eastern England. Please tell me I've got that right, Karen. My brain is really feeling pretty foggy at the moment. So if I've got it wrong, just shout. But, you know, that's another mechanism. But for all of this, we need to know what you've done, where and when, and who to contact, so that we can share that information. So please share it with your district youth leads, share it with your public image leads in your district, share it with your membership and direct membership leads. Let's actually make sure that we're taking advantage of these opportunities, and that we are sharing other opportunities that Rotary offers to young people, other opportunities to the parents, maybe the sponsor firm. Are you looking at corporate members in your club or your area? Are they going to be interested in providing some support, financial or otherwise, around technology tournaments? Trevor.
Hang on. Bear with me, I'm
Yes.
just struggling with the technology.
That's okay. Oh, there we are.
Okay, there we are. Just to say, I'm from District 1180 also, and the technology tournaments we've had recently have been a joint venture between our club and Ian Lyle's club, and it's been very, very successful. Answering some of the questions you posed earlier on, one thing we do, we invite apprentices from British Aerospace, or Airbus, I should say, who come along, and they act as both judges and mentors. So
fantastic.
They're very smart. They really are impressive. And the good thing is they are not much older than the students themselves, so they do relate to them, and we find them a great help. And the way they present themselves is wonderful. So it gives them some aspiration to the students of what, if they want to go into engineering, what they could achieve.
That's absolutely brilliant. I love that idea, Trevor, and we should be doing that more.
Absolutely. I mean, as Ian said earlier on, and Steve, it's a great success. And your opening comments about young people not being able to screw a light bulb in, it couldn't be further from the truth from our experience. The students, all of them at all age groups, they always amaze us every year how they adapt and meet the challenge straight on, and the pulley gravity task this year, the car, some weren't successful, but others were amazed. The way they shot up the ramp, it absolutely is astounding how they applied themselves to the task. But what really interests me also is the junior technical tournament. I've heard about it. I don't know anything about it. But in our area, we have a number of Rotary Kids clubs, and we have opportunities to introduce other youth opportunities as a technology tournament to primary school. So I'm very interested in that program and what information we have that we could take to the schools to promote that opportunity to younger children.
Thank you very much for that, Trevor. Really, really good. Ian, I will come to you in a moment, and then we'll not take any more comments or questions because we're heading towards past. I hope that you all feel that we've started some really good conversations here. We need to be continuing those conversations. What we also need to do is to pull together some teams, one around the Junior Technology Tournament, one around the tournament, the technology tournament. So if you have an interest, or you know somebody that's got an interest who could help, and that includes the project management side of it, the admin side of it as well. You know, we need people with different skills to step forward. And I also wonder, and I'm sorry, Trevor, it was Trevor, wasn't it, that was talking about the apprentices. Could we don't have to have just Rotarians as part of these teams. You know, several of the teams that we've pulled together have got non-Rotarians who have relevant experience, whether it's lived experience, if it's around, say, for instance, domestic abuse and violence against a person, or whether it's the skills and talents around technology or engineering or whatever. So we are looking for people to step up and help. So if you are interested, please reach out to any of the humanitarian service team. The contact details for all of them are on the members area of the website. I will again put in my email address into chat, and please reach out to me. Please share your stories and also the challenges and how you've overcome them and your ideas. I did have some really good responses already from the requests that I put out to that restricted mailing list, folks. And, you know, we are trying to expand and make sure that we do encompass communication with everybody. But again, we all need to read it if we're actually going to do anything with it. So we've had some great responses already as to what's happening. Trevor, I'll just give you literally 30 seconds, and then Gavin has put in what proportion of events are run on weekdays, school days, and what proportion at weekends. Don't know. Maybe that's one of the things when you feed back to us what can happen. I suspect a lot of them are during school time. Here I live in Guernsey, and we don't actually run a tournament ourselves through Rotary, but the local manufacturing association used to run something very, very similar. And they were initially in school time, but then it changed and it was done at a weekend, and it was open to all sorts of groups of young people and also individuals. And also don't forget that there are young people that are not in the education system. Don't forget them either. So, Trevor, was there something else you wanted to add, or shall we wrap up there and really look forward to carrying on this journey? And everybody that registered for today did tick the box that said we can stay in touch with you about Rotary Technology Tournaments. So that's great too. So thank you for that. So anybody got anything else they'd like to add? Okay, so I'm going to close the meeting then. If anybody has ideas, feedback, feed forward. I don't like the word feedback. I like feed forward. Let's have the ways we can improve things. And I think we've come up with some really good ideas here today. There will be a feature later in the year around what's happened in 23-24 around the Rotary Technology Tournaments, and really look forward to those stories and those stories of the impact it's had on the youngsters, and for instance the impact that it had on those that helped from a mentoring and judging perspective too, particularly where they are young people. So thank you all again for everything that you do around this, and indeed anything else around Rotary service. Please have a good evening. Enjoy the sunshine if it is shining where you are. I've had to close the curtains, as you can see that side. I couldn't actually see without. So bye everybody. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Janine.
Bye.
Thanks, Janine. Bye.